The slap echoed like a gunshot across the dusty parade ground. Colonel Harlan Hale's calloused palm cracking against his son's cheek with the force of a lifetime's unspoken rage. Marcus stumbled back, tasting blood where his lips split, the sting blooming hot and immediate as 24 soldiers froze in their ranks, their boots rooted to the cracked Texas soil under the merciless afternoon sun. In that suspended heartbeat, the world narrowed to his father's crimson face, veins bulging like live wires, and the whisper of silk against his skin from the hidden dress folded in his duffel bag back in the barracks, the one he swore he'd wear. Consequences be damned. Marcus Hale had grown up in the shadow of Fort Worth's endless horizons, where the Army base sprawled like a concrete scar on the high plains, and his father ruled it with the iron grip of a man who'd buried 2 wives and 1 dream of glory in Vietnam. Harlan was a legend among the enlisted men, broad-shouldered at 60. His buzz cut, still military sharp. His voice a gravelly command that could halt a Humvee mid-roar. He wore his fatigues like armor, stars pinned to his chest like accusations. And every morning at reveille, he'd march Marcus, his only son, his legacy through the drills, barking orders that doubled as life lessons. Pain builds character. Boy, weakness gets you killed. Marcus had nodded then, 16 and scrawny, his green eyes downcast, absorbing the words like shrapnel. But secrets fester in the dry heat of West Texas, where the wind carries the scent of mesquite and regret. By 18, Marcus had shipped off to basic at Fort Benning, trading his father's shadow for the anonymity of green recruits. He excelled, sharpshooter steady, endurance like a desert coyote, earning a slot in his old man's unit back home. A twisted homecoming. The barracks became his cage, bunks stacked like coffins. The constant thump of boots on linoleum. The low rumble of men sharing stories over MREs. Marcus kept his head down, his laugh easy, his touches accidental. He was good at that, blending, like camouflage in the scrublands. It started with dreams, vivid and unbidden, of hands softer than his own, lips that tasted like salt and promise. In the dim glow of his phone under the covers, he'd scroll through forbidden feeds, heart hammering as images of men in tender embraces flickered like contraband film reels. Guilt followed like a hangover, twisting his gut until he puked in the latrine at dawn. It's a phase, he'd mutter to his reflection in the chipped mirror, splashing water on his face, ignoring the way his body betrayed him in the showers, eyes darting away from the steam-slicked forms of his squad mates. Harlan noticed the distance first. Dinners in the colonel's quarters, stiff affairs with starched linens and Harlan's second wife, Lydia, serving brisket that tasted like duty, grew tense. You're jumpy as a jackrabbit. Son. Something eating you, Harlan would prod, fork pausing midair, his blue eyes narrowing like scopes. Marcus would shrug, force a grin. Just the heat. Dad. Makes a man restless. Lydia, a quiet woman with laugh lines etched deep from years of army wife nomadism, would pat his hand under the table, her touch a fleeting anchor. She knew fragments, overheard whispers in the PX, the way Marcus lingered too long in the fabric aisles, but love kept her silent, a fragile dam against the flood. The dress arrived in a plain brown box, postmarked from an aunt in Austin Marcus had never met. Her note tucked inside like a confession, or what makes your soul sing. Nephew. Life's too short for fatigues. It was crimson silk, Simple lines falling to mid-calf. The kind of thing that whispered against skin like a lover's breath. He'd found it online months ago, in a haze of insomnia, fingers trembling as he hit purchase. Hiding it in his footlocker felt like smuggling dynamite. Each glance over his shoulder a prayer no one would search. That morning, the 4th of July barbecue on base had buzzed with false jollity, flags snapping in the breeze, grills smoking with ribs and patriotism, wives in sundresses corralling kids with sparklers. Marcus had volunteered for setup, hauling coolers under the relentless sun, sweat soaking his tea until it clung like a second skin. That's when he saw him, Javier Ruiz, the new transfer from El Paso, leaning against a picnic table, his dark hair curling at the nape, tattooed forearms flexing as he cracked open a beer. Javier's laugh cut through the chatter, low and warm, and when their eyes met, Marcus felt the ground tilt, a spark igniting in the dry tinder of his chest. They talked easy at first, Javier's stories of border runs and family tamales, Marcus sharing half-truths about high school rodeos. By dusk, as fireworks cracked overhead like artillery, Javier's hand brushed his in the shadows behind the mess hall, lingering just long enough to send heat racing up Marcus's arm. "You got a light?" Javier murmured, close enough that his breath ghosted Marcus's ear. It was code, or maybe hope, and Marcus nodded, fumbling for his Zippo, their fingers tangling in the flame's glow. Word travels faster than shrapnel in a unit. By noon the next day, rumors slithered through the ranks. Hale's boys sweet on the new guy, caught holding hands like some fairy tale fool. Harlan summoned Marcus to the parade ground after drills, the sun baking the earth to porcelain hardness. Soldiers milled nearby, pretending not to watch his father-faced son, the air thick with unspoken indictments. "You're a disgrace," Harlan hissed, voice low but laced with venom, his fist clenching at his side. "Fags don't serve. They corrupt." Marcus's stomach plummeted, the world blurring at the edges. He opened his mouth to deny, to beg, but the words caught like barbed wire. Harlan's hand lashed out before he could brace, the slap a thunderclap that silenced the yard. Laughter rippled from the ranks, nervous at first, then cruel as Marcus's cheek burned, blood trickling warm down his chin. He didn't cry. Not then. He straightened, tasting copper and defiance, and met his father's eyes. "I'm your son," he said, voice steady as a rifle bolt. "And I'm gay." The words hung there, a grenade with the pin pulled, and Harlan recoiled as if shot, his face draining to ash. The soldiers shifted, murmurs rising like smoke. But Marcus turned and walked away, each step a vow. Back in the barracks, he pulled the dress from its hiding place, silk cool against his fevered skin. He slipped it on in the dim light, the fabric draping like forgiveness, and stared at his reflection, bruised, unbroken. Tomorrow, he'd face them all. In this. The base whispered that night, shadows lengthening as Marcus lay awake, the slaps echo pulsing in his veins. Javier slipped in after lights out, his silhouette a question in the doorway. "Heard what happened. Man, you okay?" His voice was soft, edged with worry, and he crossed the room in 3 strides, sitting on the bunk's edge. Marcus nodded, throat tight, and Javier's hand found his, thumb tracing the welt blooming purple on his cheek. "Brave as hell," Javier whispered, leaning in until their foreheads touched, breath mingling in the humid dark. They kissed then, tentative at first, Javier's lips firm and tasting of mint gum and risk. Marcus melted into it, hands fisting in Javier's tea, the world narrowing to the press of bodies, the scrape of stubble, the shared heartbeat thundering like distant artillery. It was revelation, tender, fierce, a dam breaking after years of drought. When they parted, gasping, Javier's eyes searched his. "We gotta be careful." "But I'm in. If you are." Marcus was. God, he was. Dawn crept in with its false promises, reveille blaring like judgment. He folded the dress away, pulled on fatigues that chafed like lies, and stepped into the fray. Harlan avoided his gaze at breakfast, Lydia's eyes red-rimmed over her coffee. The squad eyed him sidelong, jokes laced with barbs. "Hey, Hale, you dance in that get-up." Marcus forced laughs, chin high, but inside, resolve hardened like cooling steel. Weeks blurred into a tense rhythm, drills by day, stolen moments by night. Javier became his compass, nights tangled in the empty rec room, whispers mapping dreams of escape, bodies learning the language of want. Someday, Javier would murmur against his neck, fingers tracing the curve of his spine. "We'll get out. Austin, maybe. Or Seattle, rain and no stairs." Marcus clung to that, the dress a talisman under his pillow, its silk a reminder of the self he'd reclaim. But cracks spiderwebbed through the facade. Harlan's silence turned to surveillance, notes left on Marcus's bunk, shape up or ship out, and sidelong glares at Javier during PT. Lydia tried bridging, pulling Marcus aside one evening in the PX, her voice a hush amid the canned goods. "He loves you, in his way. Give him time." But time felt like a noose, tightening with each averted eye. The breaking point came unannounced, a Friday inspection under Harlan's eagle scrutiny. Marcus stood at attention, rifle gleaming, when a squad mate, Tommy Greer, a lanky kid from Amarillo with a mean streak, snickered and muttered loud enough for all. "Bet Hale's got lace under there." Laughter erupted, Harlan's face darkening like a storm front. He dismissed the unit with a bark, then rounded on Marcus, eyes blazing. "My office." Now, the colonel's quarters smelled of leather and old bourbon, maps pinned to walls like wounds. Harlan paced, fistballed. "This ends today. You're done here. I'll have you discharged dishonorable, if I have to." Marcus's blood ran cold. "Dad, please." "It's not. It is," Harlan roared, slamming his desk. "You're killing me. Boy. My own blood. Parading like some." He trailed off, disgust twisting his features. Marcus's vision tunneled, the dress flashing in his mind, a banner of rebellion. That night, alone in the barracks, Javier away on maneuvers, Marcus unpacked it. The silk whispered as he stepped in, zipping the side with trembling fingers. In the mirror, he saw not the soldier, but the man, vulnerable, radiant, eyes fierce with unshed tears. He slipped out into the moonlit quad, the dress swaying like a ghost in the wind, and walked toward the edge of base, where the scrub met freedom. A patrol jeep's headlights caught him mid-stride, tires screeching. Soldiers spilled out, Tommy among them, stares widening in shock. Then derision. "Holy shit, It's Hale. Flashlights pinned him like a specimen. Laughter exploding. Marcus stood tall, chin lifted, the slap's ghost fading against this raw exposure. "Yeah," he said, voice carrying clear. "It's me." Word raced to Harlan's door like wildfire. By the time his father stormed out, bathrobe flapping, the quad teemed with bleary-eyed men, a tribunal under the stars. Harlan's face crumpled, rage, grief, something like awe, before hardening to stone. "Get inside," he growled, but Marcus held ground, silk fluttering defiant. "No, Dad. This is who I am." The silence stretched eternal, broken only by a distant coyote's howl. Harlan stepped forward, hand rising instinctive, but faltered, palm hovering inches from Marcus's unmarred cheek. For the first time, his eyes, mirror to his son's, cracked open, revealing the boy Harlan had lost long ago. "God help us both," he whispered, and turned away, the crowd parting like a receding tide. Marcus didn't sleep that night. Dawn painted the sky in bruised purples, and as the bass stirred, he packed his duffel, the dress folded reverent on top. Javier found him at chow, eyes shadowed but steady. "Heard. You legend." They embraced quick, hidden, a promise sealed. By noon, discharge papers arrived, honorable with a vague personal reasons. Harlan signed them without a word, his back a wall. As Marcus boarded the Greyhound westbound, dust devils dancing in the rear view, he touched the fabric in his bag. Slapped. Yes. But unbroken. The road unspooled like possibility, Austin's lights beckoning faint on the horizon. The bus rumbled through the flatlands, exhaust fumes mingling with the ghosts of Marcus's old life. Each mile a thread unraveling from the tapestry of fatigues and false fronts. He pressed his forehead to the cool glass, watching telephone poles whip by like metronomes counting out his exile. The dress a soft weight against his thigh and the backpack at his feet. 22 years old, and the world felt both vast and vicious. A canvas streaked with the red of that slap and the crimson silk of his defiance. Austin greeted him with a humidity that clung like regret. The city a sprawl of live oaks and neon veins pulsing under the summer moon. He crashed at a youth hostel off 6th Street, a converted Victorian sagging with backpackers and the faint tang of patchouli. The room was a bunk farm, strangers snoring in stacked pods. Fluorescent buzz overhead, but it beat the barracks' rigid lines. Marcus claimed a lower berth, unpacking only essentials, jeans worn soft at the knees. A few tees. The Zippo Javier had slipped him a goodbye, for the fires we'll light together. Ese. The dress stayed zipped in its pouch, a relic too sacred for this limbo. Days bled into a haze of job hunts and hollow routines. By morning, he'd pound pavement in the warehouse district. Resume clutched like a shield. Marcus Hale, U.S. Army. Honorable discharge. Reliable. Adaptable. Coffee shops and loading docks turned him away, too green. Or maybe the bruise fading yellow on his cheek whispered trouble. Afternoons. He'd wander Barton Springs, stripping to trunks in the spring-fed pool. The chill shock of water sluicing away sweat and shame. Swimmers glided past, bodies unself-conscious in the dappled light. And Marcus envied their ease. His own form taut from drills, but marked by tension. Shoulders hunched against phantom judgments. Nights were for the bars on Red River, where the music throbbed like a second pulse, blues riffs wailing from doorways, laughter spilling on a sidewalk slick with spilled beer. He nursed sodas at sticky counters, eyes tracing the crowd. Cowboys in Stetsons two-stepping with women in boots. Clusters of men in tight jeans leaning close, their touches casual as breaths. The first time a stranger sidled up, broad-shouldered guy named Trent, with a beard like tumbleweed and eyes sharp as spur bottles. Marcus froze, pulse jackhammering. Buy you a drink. Soldier. Trent's drawl was honeyed, hand light on his arm. Marcus shook his head, mumbling excuses, fleeing into the humid night with heat crawling his skin, not desire, but the echo of fear. Harlan's voice snarling in his skull. He called home once, from a payphone outside a taqueria, the receiver slick in his palm. Lydia answered, voice of fragile bridge. Oh, honey. We've been worried. Harlan loomed in the background. She whispered, drinking more, barking at shadows. The unit fracturing under the scandal's aftershocks. Tommy Greer had been reassigned. Whispers of harassment charges. Javier was stateside now, waiting for leave. Tell him. Tell him I'm sorry. Marcus choked. But Lydia's sigh carried the weight of absolutions unpaid. He knows. Baby. Come home when you're ready. He hung up, the dialed tone a dirge, and walked until his feet blistered, the city's lights blurring through unshed tears. Survival demanded reinvention. A gig materialized at a hole-in-the-wall bookstore on Congress Avenue, Rowdy's Reads. A queer haven crammed with dog-eared paperbacks and cat posters preaching love wins. The owner, Ellis Crow, was a silver fox in his 50s, lanky with wire-rimmed glasses and a tattoo of Virginia Woolf peeking from his sleeve. You got that haunted look, Ellis said during the interview, peering over half-moons. Good for shelving the angsty stuff. Start tomorrow. Marcus nodded, gratitude thick in his throat, and dove in, dusting spines of Auden and Baldwin, ringing up flirty locals with their rainbow pins and knowing smiles. The shop became sanctuary, its nooks alive with stories that mirrored his fractures. Behind the counter, he'd lose hours to Giovanni's room, Baldwin's words slicing deep, the ache of hidden selves, the terror of touch. Customers trickled in, drag queens browsing for heels and heartache memoirs, college kids debating pronouns over lattes from the cafe next door. One afternoon, a group of activists from the local center wandered in, flyers fluttering like confetti, pride planning meeting, all welcome. Marcus hovered, stacking magazines, until Ellis nudged him. Go on, kid. Community's not a spectator sport. The meeting unfolded in the back room, folding chairs in a circle under strings of fairy lights. Faces turned to him, diverse as the bookshelves, trans women with bold liner, gay dads with wedding bands glinting, a non-binary artist sketching in the margins. Introductions circled. I'm Lena. She's Slasher, fighting for trans healthcare. Raj. He slash him. Here to dance my ass off at the parade. When Marcus's turn came, voice faltering, he said simply, Marcus. He slash him. Army vet. Figuring it out. Nods rippled, warm as sunlight. And for the first time since the bus, he breathed without the crush of isolation. Lena, a firebrand with cropped purple hair and a septum ring, latched on post-meeting. You should march with us. Nothing says fuck the man like a vet in full queer regalia. She eyed his faded army tee, grinning wicked. Marcus laughed, genuine, rusty, and felt a spark. Not romantic, but kindred. A thread pulling him from the edge. Javier's letters arrived like lifelines, scrawled on PX stationery, postmarked from godforsaken outposts. Miss your laugh in the dark. Cabron. Counting days till I can taste that lip again. Marcus hoarded them under his bunk, rereading by flashlight, body aching with absence. Phone calls were rarer, static-laced whispers from sat phones. Javier's voice husky with fatigue. Hold on for me. Yeah, we'll build something real. Marcus traced the receiver, imagining the curve of Javier's mouth, the ink on his knuckles spelling Libra. Emboldened, he unearthed the dress one humid evening. The hostile empty save for a fan's lazy whirl. Silk slid over skin like a sigh, cool against the flush of memory. In the cracked mirror, he posed, hips cocked defiant, eyes locking on his reflection's gaze, challenging the ghost of Harlan's hand. It fit different now, looser in the chest, freer in the fall, as if Austin's air had softened its edges. He danced then, slow circles to a phantom radio, letting the fabric swirl like smoke signals to his truer self. Word of his parade ground debut had trickled south, veterans' forums buzzing. A viral snap from some soldier's phone, Marcus in silk. Chin high. Captioned Fort Worth's finest rebel. Comments slashed. Traitor. Pray for him. But others bloomed defiant. Proud of you, brother. Wear it loud. Ellis framed a print behind the register, our local legend, and customers high-fived him, sharing their own war stories of closets cracked open. Yet doubt not. A low hum under the city's hum. Nights alone, he'd wake sweating, Harlan's face superimposed on dreams. The slaps crack morphing to a plea. Don't leave me like this. Guilt coiled tight, warring with fury at his father for the cage, at himself for the love that built it. Therapy beckoned from flyers, but pride pinned him. Soldiers didn't break. They endured. Pride Month crested like a wave. Austin alight with banners and bass lines. Marcus volunteered at the fest, handing water bottles in the heat, cheering drag brunches from the sidelines. Javier's leave aligned miraculous, a red-eye from Pendleton, landing him dusty and grinning at the airport curb. Missed you, Javier growled, pulling Marcus into a hug that crushed air from lungs. Their kiss salt-sweet under terminal lights. They tumbled into Austin's underbelly together, rooftop bars with skyline views. Food trucks slinging migas at midnight. Bodies pressed in throng of the parade route. Javier's hand in his felt anchor, callous from rifles. Gentle on waist. This city's got soul, Javier said one dawn, tangled in hostile sheets. Marcus's head on his chest. Like you, they talked futures, Javier eyeing discharge. A tattoo shop in El Paso, maybe, or grad school up north. Marcus confessed the dress's pull, and Javier's eyes lit wicked. Wear it for me. Tonight, the parade was chaos glorious, floats bedecked in glitter. Marchers in feathered headdresses chanting rights reclaimed. Marcus waited in the wings, heart galloping, silk hidden under a trench coat borrowed from Ellis. When his group's turn came, vets for visibility. Signs reading love, serve here. He shed the coat, crimson blooming bold against the crowd's roar. Cameras flashed. Cheers swelled. Javier at the fore, with a wolf whistle that pierced the din. Marcus walked tall, dress swaying to the drumbeat, eyes scanning for judgment and finding only mirrors of joy. Harlan's letter arrived post-parade, forwarded from the base. Block letters on official stationery. Terse's orders. Saw the news. Your mother would weep. But you're Hale blood. Fight smart. Not stupid. Dad, no apology. But the sign-off cracked something, a door ajar. Marcus folded it careful, tucking beside Javier's notes. The weight lighter now. Summer waned, but momentum built. Ellis promoted him to events coordinator, planning readings with queer authors, panels on military queerness. Javier extended leave, crashing on the bunk above. Their nights a tangle of limbs and laughter. Days exploring creeks and coffee roasts. Intimacy deepened. Javier tracing the scar from that split lip. Marcus learning the map of his lover's freckles. The way his breath hitched at a certain curve of neck. Betrayal brewed subtle. A storm on the plain's edge. Tommy Greer resurfaced online. Anonymous posts on vet boards. Twisting Marcus's story. He faked it for attention. Ruined good men. Screenshots flooded his inbox. Venom from faceless foes. Javier raged. Fists clenched. But Marcus saw the toll. Shadows under eyes. Calls home laced with strain. They're coming for us, Javier muttered one night. Rain lashing windows. Always do. Marcus pulled him close. Silk forgotten on the chair. Then we run faster. But doubt whispered. Was love enough armor? The road ahead forked. Javier's unit calling him back. Austin's pull rooting Marcus deep. Choice loomed. A shadow lengthening. As leaves turned amber. A call from Lydia shattered the fragile peace. Harlan down. Heart scare. Hospital in Lubbock. He asked for you, she said. Voice breaking. Marcus stared at the receiver. Pulse echoing the monitor's beep in her pause. Forgive? Confront? The dress mocked from the drawer. A dare renewed. He booked the bus east. Javier's hand warm in farewell. Whatever happens, I'm yours. The planes unrolled again. Dusty now, carrying Marcus toward reckoning. Slapped once, but rising silk soul unyielding. The hospital in Lubbock smelled of bleach and regret. Fluorescent strips buzzing like trapped hornets overhead, casting Harlan's face in pallid relief. Marcus paused in the doorway. Duffel slung heavy. The dress a folded secret inside, like a loaded chamber. His father lay propped on pillows, tubes snaking from arm to machine. The man who'd forged him now frail as weathered mesquite. Blue eyes dulled, but piercing still. You came, Harlan rasped. Voice a gravel scrape. No preamble. Just a fact hanging raw between them. Marcus crossed the room slow, chairs scraping linoleum as he sat. The air thick with unsaid salvos. Nurses bustled past, charts rustling. But here it distilled, father and son. Soldiers stripped to bone. Lydia called, Marcus said, folding hands to hide the tremble. Harlan nodded faint, gaze flicking to the window where West Texas wind bent scrub oaks low. Shouldn't have. But needed to see if you'd grown a spine or just a skirt. The barb landed glancing, dulled by illness. But Marcus flinched. Heat rising familiar. I'm here. Are not. Silence stretched, broken by the beep of monitors, steady as a metronome mocking their discord. Harlan shifted, wincing, and for a moment, vulnerability cracked his armor, a boy peeking through the kernel. Docs say stress. My own damn fault. Pushing too hard. He paused, eyes locking on Marcus's. That night, I saw red, like Nam flashbacks, lost men to worse than words. But you were my redemption. Marcus's throat tightened, words bubbling like bile. Redemption? You slapped me, Dad, in front of them. Like I was nothing. Harlan's jaw clenched. For line tugging. You were everything. Still are. That's why it gutted me. Army life's black and white. Fags don't fit the code. But you're my blood. The admission hung, jagged, and Marcus leaned forward, voice low. The code's broken. I fit nowhere because you taught me to hide. Tears tracked Harlan's temples, silent as rain on tin. Your ma. She knew. Said you had her fire, her softness. I buried that with her. The confession unlocked floodgates, stories Marcus half remembered. Lydia's quiet faith, the colonel's wars, external and the one raging internal since Marcus's first furtive glance at a teammate in the showers. Harlan talked halting, machines beeping underscore, until exhaustion claimed him, hand limp on the rail. Marcus lingered, watching the rise-fall of his chest, resentment thawing to something tender, bruised. Outside, Lydia waited in the cafeteria, coffee steaming untouched. He talks in his sleep, she said, eyes searching. Your name. Always. They hug Bone Crush. Her perfume dust and home. And Marcus confessed the dress's genesis, the aunt's gift, the online impulse born of loneliness. Lydia smiled faint. Wear it for her memory. And yours. He stayed 3 days, bridging silences with small acts, smuggling brisket from the diner, flipping channels to old westerns Harlan grunted approval at. Discharge papers from the Army sat unsigned on the nightstand. Harlan's doing. A quiet sabotage to keep him close. Fight it, his father urged one dusk. Sun bleeding orange through blinds. Be the hail who wins. Marcus nodded. But inside, Austin called siren, Javier's texts pinging urgent. Miss you bad. Come back whole. The bus west carried ghost lighter. Plains giving way to hill country folds. Green-veined and forgiving. Austin enveloped him, humid warm. Javier waiting at the station with a bouquet of wildflowers pilfered from a roadside stand. Grin splitting his face. Heroes welcome. They tumbled home to the hostel. Now theirs with pooled rent and shared mugs. The door barely shut before clothes shed like old skins. Bodies colliding in a frenzy of reunion. Javier's hands mapped scars new and old. Mouth tracing the welts, ghost on Marcus's cheek. Tell me, he breathed post-climax. Sweat slick and sated. Head on Marcus's thigh. Words spilled then. Hospital confessions. The thaw in Harlan's eyes. The unsigned papers a tether yanking. Javier listened. Fingers idly stroking Marcus's hip. But tension coiled in his shoulders. Sounds like progress. But what about us? Marcus propped on elbow, tracing Javier's jaw. You're mine now. He's my then. Kiss sealed it. Slow and sure. But dawn brought the letter from base HR. Appeal deadline looming. Honorable reinstatement possible, if he returned. Played straight. Choice bifurcated the days. Marcus threw into work. Rowdy's Reed's hosting a vet's memoir launch. Panels packed with standing room. His moderation steady despite the churn inside. Ellis pulled him aside post-event. Bourbon in hand. You're glowing, kid. But crack too. Love'll do that. Marcus confessed the pull. Family's gravity versus the freedom he'd tasted. Ellis nodded sage. Blood's thick, but soul's thicker. Choose the one that lets you breathe. Javier's leave ended abrupt. Orders rerouting him to Fort Hood, a 3-hour drive south. Weekends became pilgrimages, Marcus navigating traffic in a borrowed Civic, Javier waiting in an off-base motel with takeout and tequila. Their time fractured, lazy mornings tangled in 300-thread sheets. Afternoons hiking state parks where oaks whispered approval. Evenings debating futures over cards. "Marry me," Javier joked one twilight. Ring from a gumball machine glinting on his pinky. Marcus laughed, but the word lodged deep, a seed in fertile soil. Betrayal slithered in via email. Innocuous at first, a forward from an old squad mate. Your boy's lies. Attach photos, grainy shots from the parade. Marcus in dress. But doctored, Javier's face photoshopped beside. Arms slung possessive. Caption screaming, unit traitor exposed. Sender anonymous. But the watermark screamed Tommy Greer. Marcus's stomach plummeted, showing Javier over video call. His lover's face hardening to flint. That cabron. I'll bury him. But beneath rage. Fear flickered. Javier's CO had called. Rumors circling. Discharge threats veiled. Panic crested that night in Austin. Rain sheeting windows as Marcus paced the bunk. Dress clutched like talisman. We fight or flee. Javier's voice crackled through speaker. Distant thunder. Fight. But together. Marcus nodded to empty air. Resolve stealing. But sleep evaded. Dreams replaying the slap. Now Harlan's hand morphing to Tommy's. Striking not flesh, but trust. Morning brought action. Ellis connected him to a queer legal aid group. Pro bono sharks circling the appeal. Don't sign shit, they advised. Filing counters for defamation on the photos. Marcus drove to Hood unannounced, finding Javier in the motel's parking lot. Duffel half-packed. Eyes storm dark. Can't lose you to this, Javier said, pulling him into the truck cab. Hissed desperate as drowning. They drove aimless back roads to Waco, stopping at a roadside diner for pie and plans. After discharge, we go north, Javier mapped on a napkin. Seattle. Rain washes clean. The idea rooted. Verdant. Marcus researched feverish. Emerald City beckoned with tech jobs. Thriving scenes. Mountains cradling the sound like lovers. He applied blind. Bookstore manager gigs. Vet outreach coordinator. Resumes polished with Austin grit. Acceptance pinged midweek. Welcome to Powell's City of Books. Elation surged. Shared in a call where Javier hooped, promising a ring for real. Harlan's recovery mirrored their ascent. Lydia's updates painted a man mending. Therapy sessions grudging, but attended. Letters softening. Proud of your fight. Son. Right when you settle. Marcus penned back. Words measured. The dress as symbol. Not shame. Love as strength. Not weakness. Reply came typed. Steady. Understood. Doors open. Autumn deepened. Leaves carpeting Austin streets in copper drifts. Pride's afterglow faded to everyday revolutions. Marcus hosting a coming out as allies workshop at the shop. Harlan dialing in virtual. Voice gruff but present. Javier's appeal won. Greer's post yanked. Reprimand issued. Vindication sweet as stolen kisses. But cracks wide and subtle. Javier's calls grew sparse. Unit stress mounting. Deployments looming to the sandbox. Love you, he'd say. But fatigue laced the words. Distance, not just miles. Marcus buried doubt in prep, subletting the bunk, packing the dress, reverent atop books and boots. 2 weeks, Javier promised. Countdown to his honorable out. The night before departure, they met halfway, hill country cabin rented cheap, fireplace crackling against chill. Wine flowed, loosening tongues, Javier confessing boyhood crushes crushed by machismo. Marcus unveiling the aunt's full story, a lesbian anti-exiled young. Her gift a lifeline across generations. They made love slow, deliberate, Javier's mouth mapping silk trails on skin, Marcus whispering vows into the dark. Seattle's hours. Dawn broke crisp. Farewells lingering in the truck's cab. Javier's kiss tasted of forever. Hand pressing a keychain compass into Marcus's palm. Find true north. Bus northbound hummed with promise. Planes yielding to pines. The dress a passenger silent. Supportive. Seattle unfurled misty. Space Needle piercing clouds like aspiration. Powell swallowed him whole, all's labyrinthine. Staff a found family of ink-stained introverts. Apartment hunt yielded a studio in Capitol Hill. Rainbow crosswalks underfoot. Views of the Sound winking blue. Javier's flight landed 3 days later. Taxi pulling up as Marcus unpacked. Grin splitting wide. Reunion crashed like waves, doors slamming. Bodies fusing. Laughter bubbling through tears. Home, Javier breathed. And Marcus echoed. Silk forgotten on the floor. They explored tandem, Pike Place fish tosses, ferry rides to Bainbridge, nights in dive bars where hands laced open. No stairs. Job for Javier at a vet center, counseling queer recruits. His stories forging bonds. Winter rains pattered approval, but undercurrents stirred. Harlan visited once. Plane ticket Marcus's gift. Motel room booked neutral. Dinner in a seafood joint overlooking the water. Awkward forks clinking. Harlan's eyes on the dress draped casual over chair back. Wearing it proud? Nod yes. And Harlan's grunt held respect. Conversation veering to baseball. Safer ground. You're building good, he said goodbye. Hug stiff but real. Progress. Incremental. Spring bloomed. Cherry trees, pink confetti. Javier proposed under one. Knee drop in volunteer park. Ring simple silver. Engraved Libra. Marcus yes sobbed. Pulling him up for a kiss that drew applause from picnickers. Wedding plan sketched loose. Courthouse simple. Reception at Powell's with Baldwin readings. Betrayal shadow resurfaced insidious. Anonymous email to Javier's work. Know your fiancé's past? Check attachments. Photos again, old barracks candids. Twisted context. Tommy's ghost unrelenting. Javier paled. Forwarding to lawyers. But poison seeped. Doubts whispered in quiet hours. What if they break us? Marcus confronted head-on. Dressed on for armor. Facing Javier across kitchen table. We're not them. We're us. Embrace followed. Fierce. But fracture lingered. A hairline in marble. Summer solstice party at the shop. Toast to love. Dances under strung lights. Harlan Skyped in. Lydia beaming beside. As fireworks burst over the sound. Marcus in crimson twirling with Javier. He felt it whole. Not despite the slap. But because of it. The dress swirled. A vortex of healing. Yet fate twisted sharp. Deployment orders for Javier, urgent. Non-negotiable. 6 months Middle East. Go, Marcus urged. Heart cleaving. Come back to this. Airport goodbye crushed. Compass in pocket. Dress waiting like faith. Letters bridged the gulf. Javier's from dust-choked tents. Marcus's from rainy eves. Hold the silk for me, one red. It'll bring me home. Months stretched like taffy in Javier's absence. Each dawn a reminder of empty sheets. The studio's walls closing like a hell breath. Marcus threw into routine. Powell's shifts stacking with vet center volunteers, where he'd facilitate groups for discharged queer soldiers. Their stories echoes of his own, closets cracked under fire. Love's lost a policy. You're proof we survive, one kid murmured post-session, eyes wide with hope. And Marcus nodded. But inside, the compliment chafed, survival wasn't thriving. Not with Javier's dog tags on the nightstand. Cold as unanswered calls. Rains lashed Seattle relentless, mirroring the storm brewing internal. Harlan's check-ins grew frequent, weekly calls laced with gruff care. Questions about that Ruiz boy veiling worry. War's a thief, he'd say, voice edged with ghosts of his own tours. Marcus shared snippets, Javier's emails, tales of sandstorms and stargazing. The ring tucked safe in a footlocker. Harlan grunted approval. Good man. Hold fast. The words mended incrementally. A bridge of words over the chasm. Ellis visited from Austin, crashing the couch with tales of shop expansions and pride recaps. His presence a buoy. You're too thin. Kid. Loves a diet, not a famine. Over foe in the International District. Marcus confessed the ache, the way sleep evaded. Dreams replaying parade, slaps morphing to IED blasts. Ellis listened, then slid a book across, The Velvet Rage. Read it. Rage is fuel, not chain. The book ignited introspection. Pages dog-eared with notes. Shame's cycle. Authenticity's cost. Marcus journaled feverish. Words pouring like rain. The dress as first rebellion. Javier as mirror. Harlan as forge. Therapy followed. Queer-affirming counselor named Theo. With a beard like driftwood and eyes kind as titterpools. Sessions in a loft overlooking the market unpacked the slaps strata. Not just homophobia, but Harlan's terror of loss. Projected like shrapnel. Forgiveness isn't absolution, Theo said. It's reclaiming your narrative. Narrative shifted when Tommy Greer's specter resurfaced venomous. Mail brought a manila envelope. No return. Postmarked Lubbock. Printouts of forum threads. Marcus's face circled in red. Captions spewing predator in silk. Attached note. Scrawled furious. You ruined my career. Payback's address. Hail. Heart hammering. Marcus forwarded to legal. But violation curdled. Privacy shredded anew. Trust's fragile weave torn. Javier's response crackled urgent from overseas. Burn it. He's desperate. Cornered. Focus on us. But distance amplified doubts. Emails turning terse. Misconnections. Unit dramas bleeding into personal. Love you. But this place changes a man. One red. Unsigned ache. Marcus wore the dress to bed those nights. Silka warred against abandonment. Whispering affirmations in the dark. You're enough. Summer pierced the gray. Solstice sun gilding the sound gold. Marcus hosted a resilience reading at Powell's. Queer vets sharing verses. Crowd swelling with allies. Harlan dialing in from Texas. Voice booming awkward praise. Post-event. A newcomer lingered. Kayla Voss. Mid-30s. Ex-Marine with salt and pepper stubble and a limp from Fallujah. Eyes crinkling warm. "Your words hit home," Caleb said, handing a card for his coffee roastery in Fremont. Brews and chats. Anytime. Innocent at first. Coffee meetups, trading war tales. Caleb's laugh, a low rumble, easing Marcus's edges. He spoke of his husband. Lost to cancer 2 years prior. Grief, a quiet companion. He'd like you, fierce heart. Marcus shared snippets. The dress's debut. Javier's deployment. Caleb nodded. No judgment. Just presence, a mirror without demand. Attraction crept subtle. A warmth not sought. Guilt shadowing each latte. Javier's leave aligned with pride. Flight landing tan and taut. Grin erasing miles. Airport reunion crash tender. Bodies melding in baggage claim. Javier's whisper hot. Missed this skin. They reclaimed Seattle ravenous. Ferry picnics with salmon and stories. Nights in Belltown clubs where dances blurred sweat and song. Ring resized on Marcus's finger. Simple band, glinting promise. After this tour, Javier vowed over waterfront chowder. We make it legal. Courthouse. Then road trip, California coast. Pride pulsed electric. Marcus in crimson leading the vets contingent. Javier beside in fatigues, unbuttoned casual. Signs reading, Love marches on. Cheers thundered. Cameras capturing their linked hands. Harlan's text post-parade, saw the stream. Stood tall. Both of you. Elation crested. But undercurrent tugged. Javier's eyes distant at times. Deployment weight lingering like sand and seams. Caleb's invite came casual. Group hike. Olympics, vets only. Bring your guy. Marcus extended. Javier agreeing wary. The trail a test of terrains. Douglas firs towered cathedral. Paths mud-slick under July heat. Caleb led easy. Jokes lightning packs. But glances lingered. Javier's jaw tight when Caleb clapped Marcus's shoulder post-summit view. Sound sprawling infinite below. Good people, Javier said later. Over trail mix. But tone held edge. Unspoken query. Cracks spiderwebbed post-hike. Javier's emails resumed sparse. Then silent days, unit blackout. He explained. But Marcus sent it evasion. A call pierced. Miss you. But. Pressure here. CO, sniffing rumors again. Marcus pressed gentle. Talk to me, but Javier deflected. Later. Stay strong. Distance festered. Amplified by Caleb's steady orbit. Coffee evolving to dinners. His roasts fueling late shifts. Conversations delving deeper, grief's anatomy. Joy's reclamation. Guilt gnawed Marcus raw. One rain-lashed evening. Theo's office a confessional. Am I betraying him? Theo leaned forward. Compassionate. Attraction isn't action. But honesty is oxygen. Marcus nodded. Resolve firming. But the pull persisted. Caleb's hand brushing accidental in the roastery. Eyes holding a beat too long. Betrayal detonated mid-August. Package arriving innocuous. USB drive. Labeled truth for hail. Heart sinking. Marcus plugged in videos. Granny from Hood Barracks. Javier with a squad mate. Touches blurred but intimate. Timestamps post their last leave. Audio faint, laughter, then moans. World tilted, screen blurring through tears. The dress yanked from drawer like lifeline. Slipped on trembling. Silk mocking now, crimson as fresh wounds. Call to Javier went voicemail. Rage boiling texts unsent. Caleb found him at the shop. Closing solo. Eyes red-rimmed. What happened? Sympathy poured. Arms opening. And Marcus collapsed in. Sob-racking, story spilling in fragments. Caleb held. No advance. Just harbor. You're not alone, he murmured. And in that void, Marcus clung, boundaries blurring faint. Javier's flight rerouted emergency, blackout lifted. Rumors quelled, but the video's shadow loomed. Confrontation brewed in the studio, air thick as pre-storm. Javier arrived haggard, duffel thudding, eyes pleading. Before you say anything, Marcus cut. Voice steel explained this. Drive thrust forward. Video playing merciless. Javier's face ashen. It was nothing. Stress. Booze. One night. I swear. Nothing, Marcus roared. Dress swirling as he paced. Fabric a flag of fury. While I'm here holding our life. Your sobs choked. Betrayal's blade twisting deep. Javier reached. Desperate. I love you. Mistake. Not malice, but trust shattered. Shards embedding. The slaps echo in this fresh strike. Fathers and lovers wielding hands unseen. Harlan's call that night anchored. Voice steady. Heard from Lydia. Javier's folks called. Boys mess up. Question is, can you mend? Marcus wept into receiver. Silk damp on cheek. Doesn't it always break us? Harlan paused. Rare soft. Not if you choose whole. Choice paralyzed days. Javier bunked at a buddy's. Texts apologetic torrents. Flowers wilting on stoop. Caleb retreated graceful. Here, when ready, but temptation whispered, comfort without complication. Marcus wore the dress to therapy. Theo's gaze affirming. It's your power, not prop. What does it say now? It said rise. Marcus filed for appeal on the discharge alone, vet benefits secured. Powell's hours upped. Groups at the center swelled. His vulnerability forging deeper bonds. I know fracture, he'd share. And stitching stronger. Pride's embers reignited resolve. Love not blind, but brave. Javier's plea meeting came rain soft. Park bench under Madronas. Sound lapping gray. I fucked up, he admitted. Eyes raw. Fear made me weak. But you my north. Marcus listened. Heart warring. Love's tether versus self-sovereignty. I need time, he said final. Dress hidden, but felt. A boundary drawn. Deployment loomed again. Javier shipping out shadowed. Airport farewell civil. Hug brief. Write the ending we deserve, Javier whispered. Compass returned. Marcus pocketed it, nodding, but as Gates swallowed him. Grief crested, not loss, but liberation's ache. Autumn stripped trees bare, mirroring Marcus's molt. Caleb re-emerged tentative, hikes platonic. Coffee's companionable. Attraction simmered. Acknowledged gentle, your healing light, Marcus said one dusk. Hand linking natural. Caleb smiled. No pressure. Whenever, Harlan visited for Thanksgiving. Flights booked mutual. Studio cramped but warm. Turkey charred. Laughter tentative, dress displayed proud on hanger. Harlan's nod solemn. Suits you. Conversations carved deeper, his own regrets. A youthful crush buried in trenches. Men like us. We armor wrong. Tears shared over pie. Bridge solidifying. Winter solstice brought Javier's letter from afar. Forgive slow. I'm working me. Marcus burned at ritual. Ashes to wind. Space for new narratives. New Year dawn misty. Caleb's kiss tentative under mistletoe at a center gala. Soft. Exploratory. No rush. Marcus leaned in, heart fluttering free. The dress hung ready, for dances yet to come. But echoes lingered, Tommy's final strike. A lawsuit dropped for lack of proof. Silence his victory. Marcus thrived, promotion to events lead. Book tour planned with queer authors. Love with Caleb bloomed slow, shared roasts. Trail runs. Nights where bodies learned tentative. Trust rebuilt brick by brick. Spring whispered redemption. Javier's discharge honorable. Stateside but distant. Seattle visits cordial. Friendships forged from ashes. Proud of your path, he said. Eyes kind. Ring returned symbolic. Harlan's health held. Letters monthly. A grandson joke slipping in, when you ready. Marcus laughed. Possibility budding. Pride approached. Marcus in crimson leading again. Caleb beside. Hand firm. The slap scar faded. Dress a crown. Betrayed. Yes, but blooming defiant. Love's garden wild and wide. Pride's roar faded to summer's hum. Seattle's streets alive with buskers and blooms. But Marcus's world contracted to the studio's glow, where Caleb's presence filled corners once hollow. Their rhythm emerged organic, mornings with coffee ground fresh. Caleb's roastery yielding beans dark as his humor. Afternoons tangled in Powell's backroom, shelving books between stolen kisses. Caleb's touch was deliberate, fingers lingering on collarbones, mouth tracing jawlines with a patience born of loss. No rush to claim what grief had taught him to cherish slow. Your poetry in motion, Caleb murmured one evening. Post-shift, as Marcus danced lazy in the kitchen to a Coltrane record. Dress swap for sweats, but spirit silk soft. Marcus laughed, pulling him close, sway sinking to Sax's sigh. Intimacy deepened layered. Caleb sharing photo albums of his late husband. Eli, bearded grin in Yosemite shots. Love evident in every frame. He'd grill you on Auden, Caleb teased, but eyes held reverence. Space for Marcus, not replacement, but renewal. Harlan's calls anchored the idol. Voice warmer with miles, tales of base retirements. Lydia's garden triumphs. Subtle probes on that Voss fellow. Marcus shared glimpses. Caleb's limp from shrapnel. Shared vet scars forging bond. Sounds solid, Harlan grunted. Then softer, you deserve solid. Son, the words mended deeper. A father's armor yielding to allies' shield. Visit planned for Labor Day. Harlan solo. To see this rain-soaked empire you built. Javier's orbit stabilized distant. Emails monthly. Updates on El Paso tattoo shop startup. A new bow mentioned casual. Keeps me grounded. Marcus replied genuine. Closure's grace. Glad for your north. Their paths crossed at a vet conference in Portland. Hug brief. Grins real. Toasts over IPAs to lives unlived no more. Tommy Greer's shadow dissolved final. Arrest in Lubbock for online harassment. News clipping forwarded by legal aid. Just as quiet but keen. Marcus burned the printout in the studio sink. Flames licking paper like exorcism. Ashes swirled down drain with rain-churned Puget waters. Crisis brewed insidious. Not from without, but within. Theo's sessions unearthed strata buried. The slap's trauma echoing in truss fragility. Hypervigilance, a ghost limb twitching at shadows. You're healing, Theo affirmed. But scars pull. Dreams resurfaced. Harlan's hand morphing to Javier's infidelity. Then Caleb's imagined betrayal. Waking sweat-soaked, dress clutched desperate. Caleb held through nights. Whisper steady here. Real. Climax shattered solstice eve. Powell's holiday launch party thrumming. Authors mingling with mulled wine. Fairy lights twinkling like stars in stacks. Marcus MC'd smooth. Dressed on bold under tweed jacket. Crimson peaking hem defiant. Caleb arrived mid-toast. Bouquet of evergreens in hand. Grin lighting the room. Laughter flowed. Dances impromptu in aisles. Until Harlan's flight delay text pinged. Stuck in Denver blizzard. Safe travels. Relief mixed ache. First meet delayed, but evening crested joyous. Caleb pulling Marcus to the rare books room. Door ajar. Kiss igniting slow burn to blaze. Hands roamed reverent. Backs arching against leather spines. Breaths mingling in the hush of history. Love you, Caleb gasped. Words first uttered. And Marcus echoed. Heart full tilt. Storm hit literal post-party. Drive home through whiteout squalls. Wipers battling flakes fat as feathers. Caleb's truck fishtailed on I-5. Guardrail looming spectral. And Marcus's shout, watch, cut by impact's crunch. World spinning kaleidoscope of metal and scream. Airbags bloomed powder white. Silence descending thick. Then pain, Marcus's arm throbbing. Caleb slumped. Blood trickling temple. ER lights seared. Beeps symphony frantic. Fractured ulna from Marcus. Concussion for Caleb. Stitches sealing scalp. Harlan's call pierced morphine haze. Heard from hospital. On next flight, Lydia's voice followed. Tear-choked. Praying. Baby. Javier texted vigilant. Seattle PD alert. Here if needed. Vigil stretched eternal. Marcus bandaged in the chair beside Caleb's bed. For drip cool vein. Watching monitors march steady. Guilt gnawed vicious if I'd driven. But Caleb stirred dawn weak. Fingers linking weak. Not your fault. Fate's a bitch. But we're tougher. Nurses bustled. Scans cleared. Discharge papers rustling promise. Harlan arrived disheveled. Overcoat dusted snow. Face etched worry raw. He entered quiet. Eyes flicking from Cass to Caleb's pallor. Then settling on Marcus, bruised. But beaming faint. Tough as nails, he muttered. Grip crushing on good hand. Introduction awkward over vending machine coffee. Harlan salute crisp to Caleb's bedbound nod. Heard good things? Boss. Caleb grinned lopsided. Family now. Sir. Days blurred recovery. Studio couch converted sickbed. Caleb's roastery on hold. Powell staff rallying with soups and shifts. Harlan extended stay. Transforming domestic. Grocery runs yielding brisket fixings. Evenings with poker and war yarns. Caleb dealing one-handed sly. Bonds forged fire-tempered. Harlan confessing Eli's story prompted Caleb's. Parallels drawn, losses shaping loves. You hails, Caleb joked. Build empires from ruins. Marcus's journal filled feverish. Crash as metaphor. Impact cracking not just chassis but defenses. Vulnerability's gift. Dress mended a tear from the chaos. Silk whisper against cast. Reminder of resilience's weave. Theo sessions virtual unpacked. Trauma's echo. But you're composing new. Javier visited unannounced. Portland Drive yielding bear hugs and broth. Scare me shitless, he admitted. Eyes on Caleb's chart. Talk turned full circle. Infidelity's owned. Forgiveness circled, not grasped, but respect rooted. He's keeper. Javier nodded to sleeping form, and Marcus agreed. Compass spinning true. Labor Day dawned clear. Harlan's departure looming. Barbecue on the balcony, grill smoking salmon. Sound sparkling below. Became ritual, toast to survival. Harlan's glass raised solemn. Slapped you once, he said low. Eyes direct. Worst mistake. But look, man, now. Full. Marcus throat bobbed. Hug enveloping. Father's frame solid anchor. Caleb's ring followed mended. Proposal whispered in PT sessions. Knee drop comical with crutches. Yes, tear-laced. Wedding sketched winter, small. Courthouse with centerkin. Reception at the roastery, strung lights. Crisis's wake yielded clarity. Tommy's case closed. But Marcus channeled to advocacy. Op-ed in The Stranger, from barracks to ballots, queers in camo. Published viral. Invites flooding for talks. Voice amplified. Fall foliage gilded paths. Hikes resuming gentle. Caleb's limp synced to Marcus's brace. Hands linked constant. Nights deepened intimate. Bodies navigating bandages. Love's language evolved. Tender probes. Laughter at fumbles. Climaxes quiet profound. Harlan's letter post return. Proud doesn't cover it. Lydia says invite us. Marcus framed it. Beside the dress, now gallery wall talisman. Thanksgiving gathered found family. Ellis flown in. Javier road tripped. Table groaning turkey in tails. Toast circled. To slap survived. Dresses donned. Loves reclaimed. Laughter echoed. Plates cleared. And in the hush, Marcus slipped to balcony. Silk on skin. Sounds lullaby affirming. Winter whispered vows. Ceremony crisp December. Snow dusting vows. In fracture and full. I choose you. Rings exchanged under arbor evergreens. Harlan officiant surprise. Voice steady. By love's authority. Honeymoon cabin bound. Olympic snowed in. Fireplace crackling confessions. You saved me, Caleb said. Head on chest. Marcus kissed hair. We saved each other. Spring bloomed married. Powell's events boomed. Roastery relaunched with hail blend. Bold. Resilient. Javier's wedding invite arrived. His to new love. Marcus RSVP yes. Closure complete. Crisis past. But echoes taut. Betrayal sting. Crashes jolt. Slap scar. All threads and tapestry rich. Marcus wore the dress to anniversary dinner. Caleb's eyes devouring. My rebel. Life's narrative wove on. Human. Flawed. Luminous. Marriage's first year unfolded like a well-thumbed novel. Pages dog-eared with domestic delights and subtle strains. Seattle's seasons, cycling guardian. Caleb's roastery thrived. Beans source sustainable. Pop-ups at markets drawing lines of hipsters and vets alike. His limp a badge traded for banter. Marcus climbed Powell's ladder, senior curator now. Curating queer-lit exhibits that packed houses. Panels spilling into streets with debates on visibility's edge. Their studio expanded to a one-bed in Capitol Hill. Balcony herb garden yielding basil for pesto nights. The dress enshrined in closet like a family heirloom. Pulled from milestone dances. Harlan integrated gradual, quarterly visits. Lydia in tow. Her quilts adorning beds. Brisket recipes swapped with Caleb's rubs. Father's evolution stunned. PFLAG meetings back home. Base talks on inclusivity. His growl softening to advocates' rumble. You're doing, he'd credit Marcus over Skype. Eyes crinkling rare. Show me the man I missed forging. Letters exchanged monthly. Harlan's script steadier. Enclosing clippings of Marcus's op-eds. Knew you had ink in veins. Javier's life parallel. El Paso shop ink success. Wedding photos shared. Him beaming beside a lanky artist named Diego. Vows in Spanish echoing their own. Visits reciprocal. Javier's drive, north yielding barbecues. Tattoo sessions where needles traced Libra, refreshed on knuckles. Stories swapped of loves landed. You two goals, Javier toasted. Arm slung Caleb's shoulder. Brotherhood burnished. Healing's arc crested subtle crises. Caleb's anniversaries of Eli's passing. Quiet vigils at the sound where Marcus held space. Words unnecessary. Present psalm. Marcus's nightmares resurfaced spring-fueled. Slaps crack blending with Crash's crunch. Waking thrash. But Caleb's arms corralled. Breaths synced till dawn. Therapy tandem now. Theo's circle weaving their wounds. Shared scars bind tighter. Tommy Greer's epilogue arrived unsolicited. Reform letter from prison program. Type contrite, saw my poison. Hail. Your words in that piece. Mirror I needed. Marcus read aloud to Caleb. Voice neutral. Then filed away. No reply. But burden lifted fractional. Forgiveness not gift, but gravity's release. Summer's heat wave tested. Roastery furnace-like. Caleb's migraine spiking. Marcus's arm scar, aching phantom. They escaped weekend to San Juan Islands. Ferry, slicing Salish Sea. Cabin on Lopez with kayaks and kingfishers. Days paddled turquoise. Nights porch swayed with wine. Stars pricking vast. This, Caleb said, head-on lap, is the dream Eli sketched. Marcus traced wedding band. Ours now. Added chapters. Crisis minor, but mighty brood fall. Powell's funding cut. Exhibit axed. Marcus's roll teetering. Nights paced. Resumed dusted. Doubts whisper, not enough. Caleb brewed resilience. Mornings with affirmations over oatmeal. Evenings mapping backups. His shop's expansion. Grant writes collaborative. Harlan called prescient. Bureaucracy's battlefield. Fight smart. Yama's way. Application surged to Seattle's Queer Arts Council. Pitch laced personal. From fatigues to folios, stories shelved no more. Acceptance pinged winter solstice. Curatorial fellowship. Stipend solid. Autonomy sweet. Celebration dinner at Camless. City lights twinkling below. Dress dawn triumphant. Caleb's gaze reverent. My curator, he toasted. Foot hooking ankle under linen. Lovemaking followed homeward. Slow worship under duvet. Bodies him. Harlan's health faltered New Year. Checkup flagging irregular. Test scheduled. Marcus flew solo. Lydia's hand frail in his. Waiting room vigil with vending coffee bitter. Biopsy benign, precancerous polyp snipped, but scarce seismic. Harlan's bedside confession raw. Thought I'd miss the grandkids talk. Marcus throat tight. Plenty time. Promise. Hug lingered. Father's whisper. Love you. Boy. No slap erases that. Return north renewed. Family plans sketched loose. Adoption seminars browsed. Surrogacy whispers with center friends. Caleb's eyes lit at baby names. Marcus's heart swelled tentative. The dress envisioned tiny version twirling. Spring's thaw brought Javier's crisis share. Shop arson suspected. Rival ink. Homophobic tag scrawled fag fire. Marcus rallied remote. GoFundMe seeded. Powell's auctioning signed books. Words weapon. Rise inked. Javier's gratitude, call tear-edged. Your slap story fuels my rebuild. Their own trial crested May. Caleb's ex-squad mates surfaced. DUI crash, survivor guilt unearthed. Therapy fracturing underweight. Nights withdrawn. Caleb's laughs hollow. Marcus's pleas bouncing off walls. Intervention gentle. Theo's emergency slot. Harlan's email forwarded. Men crumble solo. Lean. Son. Marcus cooked favorites. Held silences. Wore the dress one dawn to breakfast. Twirl playful. Your rebels waiting. Caleb cracked. Sobs cascading. Release cathartic. Fear losing you to my dark. Marcus knelt. Dark shared now. Lighter together. Healing deepened intimacy. Couples retreat in cascades. Hot springs soak easing limbs. Talks bubbling mineral warm. Vows renewed impromptu under lodge firs. Rings kissed in shadows and silk. Forever. Summer solstice gala at the center. Marcus keynoting. Dress crimson banner. Caleb beaming front row. Speech wove personal. Slap to standing ovation. Betrayal to bond. Crisis to crown. Applause thundered. Harlan streamed in. Nod proud. Fall harvested bounty. Fellowship exhibit launch. Threads of defiance. Queer narratives unraveled. Dress centerpiece. Mannequin clad. Placard Marcus's words. Opening night swelled. Javier flown in. Ink fresh on arms. Harlan and Lydia toasting champagne. Caleb's hand anchored through throng. Whisper hot. Our story. Framed. Thanksgiving gathered swelling. Ellis's tales. Javier's Diego introducing. Table tales tapestry. Post-feast walks. Sound misting. Marcus slipped arm Caleb's waist. Full. Nod yes. Future fertile. Winter whispered expansion. Adoption profile submitted. Home visits passed. Waitlist joined. Dreams stirred. Nursery sketches. Dress beside crib for storytime. Crisis's embers cooled to wisdom. Yearly check-ins with Theo. Date nights ritual. The slap retold not wound, but origin tale. Harlan retired full. Texas ranch bought. Invites for holidays extended. Anniversary second. Orcas Island cabin redux. Kayak swap for novels. Lovemaking lazy underloons call. 2 years, Caleb tallied. Fingers tracing scar. Infinite more. Life's weave tightened. Human threads. Romantic warp. Healing weft. Marcus. One slap shadow. Now lights weaver. Dress eternal emblem. Years layered like Seattle's fog. Thickening the ordinary into epic. Marcus and Caleb's union a quiet revolution etched in routines profound. The fellowship bloomed perennial, exhibits touring. Threads franchised to Portland and San Francisco. Marcus's name synonymous with queer archival fire. Caleb's roastery chain modest. Outposts in Tacoma. Bellingham, beans branded resilient roast. Proceeds piping to vet mental health. Their home grew. 2-bed purchase in Madrona. Backyard plot for tomatoes and tot swings. The dress migrated to guest room. Velvet hanger. For inspiration visits. Parenthood pierced spring 3rd year. Match miraculous. Toddler boy. Kai. 3. Brown curls and eyes wide as the sound. Foster to adopt swift. Placement day, chaos, joyous. Agency drop-off. Kai clutching bear. Marcus kneeling, home now. Caleb's grin teary. Hand on nape. Night's initial rocky. Cries piercing dark. Bottles warmed hasty, but rhythm-rooted. Lullabies swapped shifts. Park picnics with peanut butter clouds. Harlan doted grandfather instant. Flights frequent. Ranch toys shipped. Mini tractors. Cowboy hats tiny. First visit. Kai on knee. Harlan's rumble softened to stories. Your dad once wrangled rattlesnakes. Kiddo, Marcus watched. Throat full. The slap scar, now constellation dotting family sky. Lydia baked endless. Quilts monogrammed. Her whisper to Marcus. Full circle. Love. Javier's family mirrored. Diego birthed via surrogate. Mateo cooing in El Paso cribs. Visits yielding cousin playdates. Ink and coffee scents mingling. Uncle Marcus's dress. Javier teased Kai once. Silk swirled playful. Laughter bubbling innocent. Crises came scaled small. Kai's tantrums testing patience. Caleb's migraine flares flaring stress. Marcus's exhibit deadlines crunching sleep. Therapy evolved family. Theo's play sessions for Kai. Couples check-ins quarterly. One winter squall. Funding froze again. Powell's layoffs loomed. Marcus paced frost-rimed balcony. Doubts chill. Builder or breaker? Caleb pulled wool-clad. Both. Our blend. Crowdfund surged community-backed. Exhibit salvaged. Lesson etched. Roots run communal. Harlan's decline crept summer 5th. Parkinson's whisper. Tremors in hands once steady. Diagnosis delivered stoic. Bacall's lace tremor, still marching. Son. Marcus flew south biannual. Ranch sprawling under big skies. Lydia's care fierce. Kai's visits enchanted. Horse rides gentle. Harlan's lap storyteller. Slap was my failing. Boy. Your dad's grace fixed it. Confession witnessed. Marcus teared. Hug encompassing generations. Betrayal's final echo. Tommy Greer paroled. Contact forbidden, but letters slipped through. Rehabbed. Sober. Seeking amends. Your strength shamed mine. Peace. Marcus mulled moans. Then replied brief. Peace granted. Live well. Closure's key turned. Lock dust freed. Anniversaries marked milestones. 5th Orcus Redux. Kai with grandparents. Lovemaking fierce reclaimed. Still my north, Kayla breathed. Ring glint firelight. Marcus traced jaw. And south. East. West. Kai's world widened. Preschool rainbow flags waving. Questions bubbling. Why dress? Daddy. Marcus knelt. Silk unfurled. For brave hearts. Like yours. Twirls ensued. Giggles gale. Caleb filming teary. Javier's shop expanded. Mateo toddling amid needles. Family visits Seattle yielding fairy adventures. Mateo and Kai splashing puddles. Our tribe Javier toasted. Arms wide. Harlan's rally faltered fall 7th. Fall from porch. Hip shattered. Rehab grueling. Marcus relocated temporary. Kai enrolled local. Caleb commuting work. Ranch days blended care and chaos. Lydia's kitchen command. Kai's energy corralled by Harlan's tales. Tremors no bar to lap sits. You're my legacy, Harlan rasped one dusk. Sunset gilding room. Hand steady on Marcus's. Not soldier. Man, return north bittersweet. Harlan stabilized homebound. Winter brought Kai's adoption finalization. Courtroom tears. Judge's gavel joy. Party backyard, balloons bobbing. Ellis flown, toasting, family forged. Spring 8th bloomed expansion, Mateo visit. Boys bonding blocks. Javier's ink session for Marcus, dress silhouette on forearm. Crimson thread. Your banner, needle hummed. Crisis crested Kai's sixth, schoolyard slur, your dad's weird, echoing old barbs. Tears home tracked. Marcus heart shred. Caleb rage banked. But response rooted. School meeting. Counselor looped. Kai's voice coached. Love's not weird. It's mine. Dress parade followed. Father-son twirl for show and tell. Classmates clapping curious. Teacher praising courage couture. Harlan's call post. Heard. Handled like hail. Miss the little wrangler. Visit planned summer. But fate interceded. Pneumonia swift. Hospital haze. Marcus flew solo. Kai with Caleb. Bedside vigil with Lydia's hand clasp. Harlan rally brief. Eyes clear. No regrets. Son. Warrior truth proud. Taught me mine. Breath rattled final dawn. Room sun-dappled. Marcus's whisper. Love you. Dad. No shadows. Funeral Texas plain. Boots and blues. Eulogy Marcus's. Slapped to silk. A father's arc from flint to flame. Kai's scattered dirt handful. Bye. Grandpa. Tiny voice thunder. Javier eulogized kin. Warrior evolved. Grief's tide ebbs slow. Ranch visits memorial. Harlan study cleared yielding letters. Unsent stack to Marcus. Sorry scrawled hundredfold. Burned respectful. Ashes to plains wind. Healing communal. Center support for Kai. Couples retreat cascades. Theo's grace. Lost layers love deeper. Caleb anchored nights. Body solace. Kai's hugs dawn medicine. Summer 9th shimmered resilient. Family trip Yellowstone. Geysers geysering hope. Boys splashing geothermal pools. Javier's clan converging tentside. Legacy lives, Diego toasted. Mateo echoing. Fall exhibit toured Harlan's honor, from plains to pride. Artifacts army issued beside, silk swatches. Panels on paternal redemption. Opening streamed, ranch-wide. Lydia beaming, he'd grin. Winter 10th anniversary, Orcas cabin grand. Kai bunk friends. Lovemaking marathon, slow to swift. Whispers weaving vows refreshed. Decade danced, Caleb tallied. Fingers laced. Marcus smiled. Eternity encore. Kai's world. Soccer cleats muddy. Art classes smudged. Questions deepening. Was Grandpa mean? Marcus gentle. Hurt people hurt. But he learned love, like us. Javier's second child arrived spring, girl. Luna. Inked namesake. Christening Seattle. Families fused. Dresses twirled tandem. Life's tapestry complete not. But rich, crises crested. Healed higher, betrayals buried. Blooming bold. Marcus. Once slapped solitary. Now patriarch plural, dress dawn-worn. Silk soul some. Decades close. Balcony dusk. Kai asleep within. Caleb's head shoulder nestled. Sound sighing approval. Worth every welt, Marcus murmured. Caleb kissed palm, every weave.